I would like to welcome Dr. Huseyin Ozan to his topic about a journey from traditional to advanced diagnostic radiology or radiography. Dr. Huseyin Ozan is a new asset in our department at the Medical Diagnostic Imaging Department. He is associate professor and he is specialized in nuclear science. He has a teaching experience of over 10 years and he awarded the Young Scientist Award in 2018. He is the director, Europe Education Director of the International Society of Radiographer and Radiological Technologists, and he is the president of the Turkish Medical Radiotechnology Association, Education and Science Commission. Welcome, Dr. Ozan. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well, Dr. Ozan.
Okay. Just let me make full screen. Okay, to be honest, it will be very difficult for me to have a presentation after Professor Bashar because he just increased the level into the atmosphere, perhaps. So, but anyway, I'm really happy to be with you in this beautiful organization. The issues to be discussed today indeed very important. So the most important reason is that we are at the scientific and the technological crossroads in the field of diagnostic radiology. So therefore, it's extremely important for us to catch up with the topics and the trends of the future. So first of all, I would like to thank our department for these beautiful organizations. So in my presentation, I will discuss to evaluate of the diagnostic radiology, the timeline actually, and the focal points of the future and the scientific journey briefly from the past to the future. But in particular, I will try to mention about the importance of big data. Like the start of the every scientific journey, so diagnostic radiology, of course, has a starting point, and the adventure of the diagnostic radiology started in the 19th century with the discovery of X-rays by Röntgen and the first Nobel Award in the physics. So, of course, this is a very interesting, actually, maybe some of us know already, but of course, using it for medical purposes was not the first priority in those years when the X-ray discovered. So I'm sure that Röntgen did not aim these rays to be a tool for the shoe selection for the rich people or an epilation tool to be used for the unwanted hairs. So as the years passed and harmful properties of the X-rays were discovered, of course, such uses were out of circulation. But this was the initial things that we were using the X-ray for some unmedical purposes. Of course, in the timeline of the diagnostic radiology, I think the beginning of the 20th century has a distinct importance. I think the biggest reason for this is that the first models of the some devices, essential devices that are still in use today, even were produced and put into the service at those dates. So we can see many different equipment in the screen, as you see, from traditional radiographic devices to the first fluoroscopy device, as you can see in the right, Edison just checking with his CEO of the General Electric. And so in this case, I just want to start to my focusing point from the viewpoint of data. So if we are going to discuss about the data, I think it's extremely important to pay attention for the CT. So I think the computed tomography has a special place in all radiological explorations. So beyond providing better diagnostic procedures by allowing of a cross-sectional imaging, so it has also contribute directly, especially directly or indirectly, to the progress of many other scientific studies. So as you can see, some of these basic fields and the subfields can be seen on the screen. For example, when it comes to tube technology, which has been developed by the CT, actually, basically by CT, or the computerization. So we need to talk about the engineering science or the material science, cooling technology on the tubes, or the effectiveness of the materials. On the other hand, like computerization, it also led to further improvements in the data collection, which is the actually subject of today, and the data processing in particular, or data achieving, and the finally big data that I will further discuss about this subject. So the direct or indirect contributions to the different areas that I showed in the previous slide, I think has also enabled a serious distances to be taken in a very short time. So in the picture, it's really obvious that the first CT image and the image 9 years later are shown comparatively. In fact, 9 years is really not a long time for a general scientific development. So it's really a narrow timeline. But in my opinion, the most important point to be dwelled on here is that the multitude of the different areas, as I showed in the previous slide, and the linear increase of the contribution from these areas have made great gains in a short time, even for the general advanced in a diagnostic radiology. This is a general view, actually, from the today's radiology, but either as a speaker or as a participants, we all know what today's radiology looks like. We have imaging methods in which the signals obtained with a high-level receivers, image receivers, so go through the certain processes and obtain some advanced image. So although some of the factors that affect this process depend on the hardware features, so the important issue that should be emphasized here is the processing and the post-processing of the obtained signals from our advanced devices. So I think at this point we need to pay special attention to the concept of data. So which is the, as I said, which is the base of today. Actually, it's the basics of the artificial intelligence or the machine learnings, as Professor Bashar recently mentioned. So although the data is a general concept, but when we consider it in terms of radiology, so really we can evaluate it in the certain frameworks. So in short, the most important term that shapes the radiology of the today and the future is the concept of the data. So the ability to process and to deposit the data and to generate new information from this data, I think it will be the most important tool of today and the future's radiology. So in fact, by the way, the concept of data can be taught as a kind of experience for algorithms that can learn, which is recently mentioned in our previous presentation. So each new data is an extra piece of information that the algorithm can update itself. But here, I think we need to raise a big question. So is only the data enough for us? I mean, because since long time, we are able to collect the different types of the data, either from our machines, from our post-processing, but really it's enough. So this is our basic highlight question. So we need to take a further step and talk about new and striking term, namely big data. So, of course, I will not go into the details much, but all machine learning and the artificial intelligence methods need the big data. So the large size of the data increase the number of the events experienced by the algorithm, of course, allowing it to perform the better predictions and the analysis in the analysis of the current situation. So here is a good example, actually. We can consider an algorithm. that has experienced one single tumor type, an algorithm that has experienced 1,000 tumor types. So recently, as Dr. Bashar mentioned, that this is sort of experience, but the second algorithm recognizes thousands of different situations. So when the 1,001st tumor is put into the algorithm, so perhaps the algorithm will return to remember different type, 1,000 different type of the tumors it has experienced, and can provide the more information about what this 1,001st tumor looks like. So what about the algorithm that has experienced only one tumor? So perhaps the entire information capacity of this algorithm is limited to a tumor it recognized. So in this case, we need to put and highlight about the number of data in the parallel of the number of experience. So even from our daily life, I think it's fair to make imagination about our daily experiences or experiences in our daily life, experiences in education. So each of them, each of different experience will let us to make an estimation for the future issues. So how much experience, so that much good analyzing for the future issues. So this is the basic of the artificial intelligence, but in terms of the big data, it's quite important. So by the way, we are not only the ones who are aware of this situation even today. So I just wanted to put some highlights from some biggest companies. I am sorry if I am doing sort of advertisement, but it is not only one company, by the way. But let's take a look at the order of importance the big companies put this issue in. So I was searching about their vision or the trends, how they are evaluating 2020 and what is the near future plans in terms of their priorities. So I came across with the announcement of the care stream. So as they announced in medical imaging trends in 2020, we explore 4 significant technology innovations that will help to improve the diagnosis while keeping the dose as low as possible. So as you can see, as Dr. William mentioned in the opening speech, so the lowest doses are most priority, of course, but on the other hand, as I highlighted with red, so artificial intelligence is their priority as a supplemental lens for the medical image analysis. So on the other hand, the Siemens strongly thinks that the artificial intelligence powered, they are calling in this way. So they are not considering the artificial intelligence as a single or the one tool that can help or can be a alternative for the diagnostic or for the radiologist, but they are prefer to use artificial intelligence powered clinical decisions to guide the decisions making along the patient journey. This was very interesting. Really, I like this announcement from the US company. So they are justifying their effort on the artificial intelligence by giving another justification. So this was very interesting. The healthcare inefficiencies lead to nearly $1 trillion of annual financial waste in the United States alone. So they are considering artificial intelligence in terms of efficiency, not a pure alternative for the radiologist or something, but they are trying to decrease this amount of waste. As you can see, this is really crazy amount, $1 trillion as an annual financial waste. So in fact, I can say that, I mean, the concept of the artificial intelligence, as it's previously mentioned, is not a very new concept, of course. So the methods based on the estimation methods have been used in different fields for about nearly 50 years, of course. But however, its use in the medicine, especially in the diagnostic radiology, is a fairly new adventure. Yeah, we can call it as a fairly new adventure. The topic is still very hot, and the many scientists really, they are making serious effort on these subjects. Thanks to our colleagues, they are some of them really highly appreciated their effort. So in both science and the non-scientific community, so it's currently a frame that they are considering it as a game changer also, that can increase the diagnostic precision, reliability, and the efficiency, as I mentioned in my previous slide. So this is my second highlight, actually, because there is a huge confusion between the radiologist and the IT developers or the company heads. So there is some big concerns of the radiologist as far as I obtained or I observed. So I think it's really fair to consider this artificial intelligence issue as a supplement or the reinforcement tool instead of as a pure alternative for the radiologist. So I don't think that this is my personal opinion, of course, but I don't think that the AI can be an only alternative for the radiologist. But of course, considering the effectiveness with the data science, so I think we need to consider these new challenge in the frame of efficiency. So this is really important that because some of the radiologists I observed with my eyes in the past few years, but they are really, they have a bias. They have a big bias for the artificial intelligence. So because there is, of course, it's fair, I think, but I think there is some confusions about the concept of AI. So first, we need to understand really what we are going to do with AI. Then I am sure each of the radiologists' contribution will be really valuable in this case. This is a really good paper that I came across. So they are considering the concept of this approach as an amount of data and electronically recorded as a part of routine clinical operations. So this is again related with the data science. So in a radiology, as we know, that really it's like a huge data collecting every day. So even I know from Turkey, so thousands examinations we used to have every day. So even I cannot imagine an annual data set that can be collected from the Turkey, even for the only for the CT data. So also another description was fantastic. I mean, the big data, I mean, those data we need to consider as a data sets whose the size is beyond the ability of typical database software tools to capture, storage, and manage and analyze. So just 1 more minute, maybe I would like to mention about one ongoing project, actually 2 ongoing projects in the Germany. So recently there is a European project that they calling as a UK biobank, aiming 100,000 whole body MR scans among 500,000 total participants. Also, there is a fantastic ongoing project by the German National Court. They are also aiming 30,000 whole body MR scans. By the way, those are only for the big data collection. I would like to highlight this point. So the NECO recently published a good paper. So they are going through with some spatial parts of the Germany. So also they put their initial image that they collect from the thousands of scans, and as you can see in the right side, they were able to create an image just with the big data. As you can see, the quality is in the top level, so there is no lack with the quality or the in the frame of the image interpretation. So this was their initial report that they published. as a last point, I would like to put some highlights. I mean, of course, there is a big data for any subfield in the science or the medicine, but what is the advantage in radiology? So we need to have a big awareness about actually advantage. So the radiology is especially likely to benefit from a big data because we, as a radiology society, so we are carrying extensive electronic records every day, as I gave an example from Turkey. So the data analysis in this parallel will be much more easier in the radiology. So in conclusion, I think those are really important 5 points that we need to keep in mind. A great awareness is extremely needed. For that, we need to publish not the scientific data, but as an awareness or the surveys. It should be like a continuous studies in the literature. So new courses is needed, as Professor Bashar recently mentioned, such as data processing, data analyzing is in undergraduate studies. Also a remarkable increment in the credit hours of math, IT, and the programming courses is needed. AI, big data, data processing tracks in the graduate studies, especially in the radiography, master and PhD degrees are needed. So most importantly, there is a big and huge legal confusions about the data gathering. So perhaps Dr. Nasia will talk about the European regulations and strict rules, so it's not really so easy, but I think some international efforts are needed for the data gathering because data is the base of those advanced tools. So we need to have some ways to have legal data gatherings from the governments or the ministers. So thank you so much. I am sorry if I passed my time, but also there is a quote from the Tesla, because we've been talking about Edison. Even I cannot compare him with Edison, but he's the much more, he's the best, of course. But I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So this is the basic of the big data, actually, or the experience. So we need to get experience with the data for the further achievement. So thank you so much. By the way, I think I had some issues with my webcam. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ozan. Thank you, Dr. Ozan, for this informative presentation. I can see that there are 2 comments on the chat. Okay, one comment, this will take time due to the higher field strength of the scanner. And Mohammed Hijazi, different company like GE and Canon are using AI for enhancing image quality across different modalities. If you can comment or reply to
yeah,
the comments.
This is right. I know as a personally there is individual challenge with the companies. So this is very normal because in the near future this type of things will be beyond the like scientific challenge, but maybe they will have their own copyrights, own diagnostic algorithms, or like commercial programs. I think the IBM is already doing this as a commercial issue. So this is very normal, that it's quite normal to have different types of tools because very soon it will be a commercial issues, even for the clinics, hospitals, and everywhere. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so
Ozan.
much.
Thank you, Dr. Ozan.